I asked you how much you needed to have in your investment account right now for your age, would you know? I threw up a poll on our community page to find out, and the answer was pretty much what I expected.
That's offensive.
I think the majority of us know we need to be investing and aim to invest as much as possible to grow our investment accounts. But we don't actually know where we're at, or better still, where we should be at. And the really scary part is we are facing a huge pension crisis that is really going to hurt everyone in years to come.
You either eat or put your heating on.
Can't afford to eat every day.
We see older people with no food in their cupboards.
The data shows that the average person doesn't have nearly enough saved for retirement, and with house prices and rates being so ridiculously high and the cost of living crisis, when it gets to the point that the majority of people don't have enough in our pension accounts to support themselves financially, who's going to pay for it? Now, I don't want to terrify you or make you feel down on yourself in any way. This is more just a reality check of what you should be aiming for so you can have goals to work towards. And what I will do is include the average pension pot for every age group so you can see it's completely normal not to be at these milestones. And a really good point from doing this is if you're lucky enough to be over target, you can actually perhaps relax a little bit instead of piling on insane pressure to overachieve on what you actually need. And by the end of this, you'll come out with an actual benchmark of what you should be aiming for, and I'll include a downloadable spreadsheet so you can use this to help work out for yourself what you need to. So to start things off, we need to come up with a target of how much we'll actually need in retirement to cover all of the things that we want. And I'm going to base this on the Retirement Living Standards research, who publish a report each year on how much you need in retirement. Now, I'm going to be a bit selfish here because there are 3 different levels: minimum, moderate, and comfortable. And I started doing this based on the moderate, but honestly, I don't want to be struggling in retirement, and I don't think you do either. So I'll be going for the comfortable. It's also worth noting that you actually do need less if you're in a couple, but I think it's always good to plan to not be in a couple because you never know. So let's make ourselves a persona. We'll call him Tom. Tom's a single male living in the UK outside of London. By retirement, he'll have his house paid off and be mortgage free. He'll spend roughly £144 per week on food and eating out. He'll replace his 2-year-old car every 5 years, go on holiday for 3 weeks in Europe each year, and he'll spend just under £1,500 per year on clothes. And wait for it, £56 on each birthday present. Now, to sustain this level of spending, he's going to need an income of £37,300 per year. Be aware this doesn't mean you're going to be living it up like the rich and famous, just a slightly better version of where you are now, plus, well, not working. So the total he'll need to do that is £958,120. Before you scream in horror, that number also includes the state pension. Now remember, to qualify the state pension, he will have had to have contributed national insurance for 35 years. If you haven't, you can opt to pay off some of these years individually, which is definitely worth checking. With the state pension removed, he needs £747,003, based on a pension age of 66. It's worth noting that the age will be raising to 68 in the near future, so you may want to aim slightly higher than these figures, depending on when you are aiming to retire. It's also important to note these figures are based on an annual return of 8% per year that you would expect from a global index fund. So let's break down how much Tom, or you, need by age. Kicking off with age group 18 to 24. This should hopefully be when you first start investing. In fact, most people don't even realise they are investing at this age, but they are paying into a pension scheme. Remember, your pension is essentially an investment in itself, because of course it is tied to the stock market. If you started investing at this age, you would only need to invest £122.55 per month. A great example was by Martin Lewis, who said, take your age, half it, and that's the amount or percent of your salary you should be saving each month towards retirement. And that was based on someone retiring at 64. So someone aged 20 would only have to save 10% of their salary, opposed to someone aged 50 needing to save 25% of it. At this age, the amount you should have invested is between 0 and 11,100. Here's the amount broken down for your exact age. At the lower end of this, of course, you're only just starting out, so you would be expected to have less than 1,500. Now, just to put that into perspective, the average person at this age has £2,700 in the pension pot. If you haven't started at this age, don't put too much pressure on yourself because the vast majority of people will be in university, traveling, or genuinely just trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives. In fact, me being 33 and someone who has saved the majority of my life, I definitely recommend having more of those experiences at that age. The danger here is, and what I would recommend though, is please stay out of debt and maintain good credit. Don't get yourself into a load of debt. Way too many people spend the majority of their 20s just trying to get back to a neutral position. Please don't let that be you. Jumping into the next bracket, 25 to 34. This bracket is actually my age bracket, so it'll be interesting to see how I compare. Here you'll want to have between 13.6k and 46.2k. And here again is each of those numbers broken down by age. It's actually refreshing to see at 33 I've managed to play catch up at 57,000 compared to 41,000. So I'm slightly over what I would need if my plan was to retire at state pension age. Now interestingly, looking at those figures, what would you expect the average pension savings was at this age range? Take a guess. £9,300, below even the lowest age on the list, which just shows how the importance of pensions isn't taught enough. This is the age where you ideally want to be formulating a plan of how you're going to get to your goal, experimenting with different jobs and businesses and working out exactly what you want to do for the next 20 or 30 years before you retire. I saw a really great discussion from Gary Vee recently where he told young guys just to find something you love to do, and if you can make money doing something you love, you won't feel like you're working. And I think that your preferences do change. For example, when I was in my 20s, it was all about doing what I enjoyed, web design, and coming up with creative ideas, which I still enjoy, but anything after a while feels like a job at points. Then when I hit 30, I felt like I needed more purpose, so I started this YouTube channel. A bit late, but better than never. Now I actually go on holiday and I'll find myself thinking about the next video that I can make for you guys, or what I can do to add value, and the comments I get about how much I've helped someone doing it actually feels like my life is starting to add value to someone else, which is a huge shift for me. The biggest danger in this bracket is actually not figuring out what you want to do and limiting yourself. You'll then spend the next 30 years doing something that you hate. Just get out of your comfort zone, give something a go, and trust me, it will be worth it. And don't worry, I still don't fully think I've figured out what I want to do in my life. The next age bracket is 35 to 44, and this is where things really start to heat up. In this bracket, you should have between 51.4k and 121k. Here's the numbers broken down, and shall we keep the fun going? Guess the average pot in this bracket. £30,000, almost half the lowest estimate. So if you're behind in this bracket, you definitely aren't alone.
That's comforting.
This is a stage in life where you've hopefully got your plan in place and you are executing it, either building your business or working on moving up the corporate ladder. But one note here, if you aren't making your way up the corporate ladder, but you're doing something you love, you're actually still winning, so don't worry. At this point, you want to be on the property ladder and have started paying down the capital. Hopefully by the end of this period, you'll be at least 10 years or so into doing so, aiming to have around 15 years or left remaining. The biggest danger here is honestly not having a plan. At this stage, you should know how much you're investing each month and what your goal is. Failing to plan is planning to fail. See what I did there? But no, seriously, invest regularly and keep building the pot. Next, 45 to 54. Now we're getting into big number territory.
Big numbers, Spiro. Big numbers.
In this bracket, you'll want to be between 133k and, wait for it, 285,000. Here's the numbers broken down by age. Shall we guess? This one actually gets much more respectable, sort of, with the average pension pot value for this age bracket being 75,000. Still over half the minimum, but still a more reasonable figure. At this stage where you'll be midway into your mortgage term, aiming to get it paid down, executing your plan and seeing the results. You've overcome the barrier of the first 100k, which is the hardest, and you're able to start benefiting from the power of compound interest. At this stage, you'll be moving into a more senior role, able to think about expanding your investment horizons, hopefully towards an ISA which will allow you to retire earlier. But if not, be on track to a healthy retirement when it comes. The biggest pitfall here is to not fall into risky trading strategies, and I'd say this applies to anything pretty much after your 30s. I've had this big mindset shift lately where I need to focus on the power of compound interest in safe, reliable index funds. As much fun as I find stocks, I don't want to have the fun of buying stocks and then not be hitting my investment targets. So it's important to keep putting money into them reliable funds so you meet your end goal. And last but not least, the biggest numbers on our list. Brace yourself. In this stage, you'll need between 309,000 and 637,000. And go on one more time, the average pension pot, 107,300, a really great sum of money, but about a third of what you'd need. Here you'll hopefully have your mortgage paid off, and then you'll have a couple more years of compounding, hitting your goal of 747k within just a few more years. And you're free! Woo! The most important thing here is just sticking to the plan. These are your biggest years of compounding when you're really able to take advantage of having a larger sum of money. Some people may want to adjust their strategies slightly here to have more bonds for more safety. After all, if you had 5 bad years in the stock market here, you don't have quite as long to recover. Now, while I find this fascinating to see to give me a benchmark, I've also become increasingly worried when making this because the last thing I want to do is make anyone feel below par. There's a couple of things I really want to point out here. You can definitely live on less than this. In fact, the most people can live just on the state pension. Anything above that you manage to build up will be a bonus. This comment from Minimads summed it up well. You should invest as much as you can afford within the confines of budgeting and aim to increase it each year. And lastly by Philip, he's 32 and he wishes he had more with only 7k invested in the S&P 500, but he has a mortgage, a wife and a child on the way. And it's important to remember that investing for retirement isn't the only achievement in life. Recognizing you want to invest more and starting at this age is brilliant. I don't have any children yet, a wife or a mortgage, so I definitely say you're smashing the life goals. So well done and congratulations. I hope this has given you guys some food for thought. Let me know in the comments where you are versus the benchmark, as it would be super cool to see. And of course, remember to include your pension, not just your ISA, in all of your calculations. And in my spreadsheet, I'll include all 3 benchmarks, the 2 that actually are lower than this, to give you a more fuller picture. If you want to see my actual pension as I document the entire journey right here on YouTube, be sure to subscribe and check out my latest episode, and I will catch you guys over there.